Yeah. This is my second time recording this, because first recording, it got to like half-hour long. A lot of my videos I'm throwing out here are like 20 minutes to half-hour long. I want to try and condense them, make them shorter, so they're easier to watch, I guess, or listen to. But maybe that doesn't matter. But anyways, with this video, I want to talk about the discs and everything that kind of pertains to them. So first things first, catch 5-star discs, 4-star discs, 3-star discs, and they're fairly different between them. Starting with 3-star discs, you got your main skill, the melody skill is what they call it, and you have, for a support spot, you have the one note, and each one of these 3-star notes will have a base HP and base attack. Now, something that is like universal with all discs, because you have 3 main slots for discs and then 3 support slots for discs, depending on if they're in a main slot or support slot, the only thing that matters is between these 2 tabs. So if it's in a main slot, anything that's in here doesn't count, doesn't matter. If it's in a support slot, anything in here doesn't count, doesn't matter. These substats, however, they still matter. They are still accounted for. Unfortunately, there's no way to show like a total when you're kind of, you know, making the loadout for discs and everything. Maybe they'll add that in at some point. Be really nice. But so that's something that is universal for every single disc. Now, when we go to 4-star discs, you'll notice that now we have another skill, harmony skills, but these are not activated right out of the gate like the first main skill, melody skill. These require notes, and these notes you can get them while you're going through an ascension run, or you get them from the support discs. Now, another thing you notice with 4-star discs, they have 2 notes for support. And I believe that's, well, actually it's the same amount, but you're getting essentially double the amount of notes. And the other thing with these support notes is the tiers. As you can see, you get more notes the higher the tier you go. However, when it comes to 4-star discs, I'd recommend stopping at 60. You will have to get to 60 and ascend it just to get into stage 6, because otherwise if you get to 60 and you don't ascend it, you're still in stage 5. You haven't gotten that extra note. So make sure you get to 60 and ascend it. You can leave it right there if you wish. Now, that's a general rule. That's for 4 stars. 3 stars, they don't get any extra notes. You get nothing from them. Now, to move on to 5-star discs, these have 2 skills that require notes to be activated, and these are pretty important, and I'll get to that when I go into the loadouts and like arranging discs. They still have only 2 notes for the support. However, they will continue getting notes all the way up to stage 8. As a matter of fact, they get notes for every single stage, unlike the 4-star discs, which seems to be, I think it was like every other stage. So, the substats, every single disc has base attack. 5-star discs, they seem to generally have element damage. However, that is not consistent, and I'll get to that later too. Show an example. Something else to note is upgrading. Obviously, substats, they will go up. However, these crescendos, which is multiple copies, use multiple copies of a disc to upgrade it. It'll increase the base attack and the main skill, but I do not believe it'll affect anything else. So just the base attack and the main skill. Perhaps I'm wrong on that. Pretty sure that's all it does. Maybe somebody can correct me in the comments. I believe that is about all the differences between the discs. But before I leave the disc list, something else that I also want to point out, which is very easy to just kind of either forget or overlook, is disc story. When you level discs up to, I think when you get to tier 1, that's when they you unlock this story, and it'll give you a small bit of pull currency. With my first recording, I upgraded this one and did it. Maybe I'll throw it in the footage of it, and it gave 20 pull currency. Pretty sure then the 3 stars, they'll give 10. As you can see, I have all of my 3-star discs leveled to 10. You have to also ascend it. You have to get it to stage 1. When it says reach tier 1 to unlock, it is talking about this. Once you get to tier 1, then it'll unlock the disc story. That is essentially what these are, is tiers. And you can only go to the next tier until you ascend. It's the same concept with, you know, getting notes. You know, you don't get the notes until you go and ascend them. That's, I believe, the last thing to go over here. So now, obtaining discs. Obviously, you can obtain discs with the banners. Get a lot of 3 stars, various 4-star discs, as well as 5-star discs. The shops also will give discs. Now, the Journey Ticket store, these discs are 4-star discs. I'll go over it in the loadouts, exactly, you know, why these discs aren't exactly the best as far as like the support goes. The element is still pretty nice because the element discs or notes and the crit rate notes, the Melody of Luck, are kind of rare to get in Ascension. There are times where you can just get lucky and you just, you know, getting a bunch of them with every, you know, floor that you're completing, but feels to me oftentimes that they are pretty rare. But I will say, when it comes to getting multiple copies of discs, it does not matter. The crescendo, when you upgrade them, you know, with multiple copies, it does not upgrade how many notes you get. And with 4-star discs, you'll eventually be putting them into support slots. That's going to be their fate relatively quickly, because once you get 5-star discs, you're gonna want to put them in the main slot. Again, I'll go over that with the loadouts. So for this shop, I would generally probably only purchase one of each disc, just so you have them and you can, you know, put them in a support slot if you're looking to, you know, get the element primarily. This the Melody of Stamina isn't too great, primarily when it comes to 5-star discs. If you're using 4-star discs in main slot, they will, you know, sometimes use them. I don't think any of these will show, but I think a lot of times 4-star discs will have the Melody of Stamina as a requirement to activate skills, so it's still generally fine. Plus, it's more notes that adds to your score for your record, so anyways. Cataclysm Survivor store. These are 5-star discs. These are worthwhile getting. I think they all have the same notes. Yeah, looks like it, which is kind of not the best with the Melody of Stamina, but being 5-star discs, they have an element substat, and they've got 2 skills that you're going to want to get activated, which something I didn't touch on with these skills. You can actually level them up, which is just requiring, you know, more of the required notes. You can goes all the way up to level 5. I've never reached level 5 with any skill that I've activated, so it's probably, like, unless you're going hard in it, you're probably just generally not going to get them, especially for these that have 3. Like, that's nah, I don't think so. So these are good. These are good discs to get. You can actually get multiple copies of them as well. But I would generally just recommend getting a copy of each one first before you start getting copies of them. But it might depend on, like, you know, what 5-star discs you have already, you know. So, and Finale Echoing shop, which we will be getting another event so we can get more currency for the shop. These are also 5-star discs. Something to note, obviously base stats, it's got the element damage. Notes kind of iffy for support, but you know, same general rule, they're 5 stars, they're worthwhile in main slots. The Umbra and Deluxe discs have a substat that is elemental. However, the other ones, for whatever reason, have ultimate damage. And I don't know what the calculations are for that. I don't know if ultimate damage is really that worthwhile getting. Yeah, every single one's got ultimate damage. So I don't know if they're like super worth getting. These 2 with element damage probably are, I would maybe prioritize over the other ones. Okay, so, and something I already went over back in the going over the Japanese live stream is the Battle Pass discs. These are also pretty good to get. They've got both the Melody of Luck and Elemental notes, as well as being 5 stars, and they've got the element damage to them Like these are much better than the other store. I will kind of get into something a bit cautionary because I did kind of I felt like I kind of glazed these discs a little too much because they have the Melody of Luck and an element note. Melody of Luck, unless a general kind of rule that I've noticed, it seems to primarily be discs that are like, I guess, a character disc or like the signature disc seem to be the only ones that have Melody of Luck as a requirement for activation. I mean, unless there's one that I'm missing, I don't even think the event... Yeah, the event ones don't have that, so... And if I go... here... and check... Yeah. Right there. Character discs, you know, best in slot discs, you know, whatever you want to call them. They seem to have the Melody of Luck. I don't think that's a entirely true thing when it comes to the standard discs. This one has Melody of Luck as a requirement, so it's one. Going into loadouts and why I think, you know, something like the Melody of Luck isn't exactly like the best kind of go with. Generally, what you're wanting to do with your disc loadouts, you want to primarily get 5-star discs as your main discs. Like, it's generally a good idea to do. Okay, putting this in post editing, I didn't really explain why. I guess it's sort of obvious, like 5-star discs are obviously better than 4-star and 3-star discs, but I didn't explain exactly why they are better. And it's primarily because 5-star discs, they have 2 harmony skills that are activated with the required notes. Those are pretty crucial to being able to obtain higher record scores. So, crucial thing to have. So, just wanted to throw this in there since I didn't explain it before. You also want that for support discs. However, there are some circumstances where you might want to have a 4-star disc in place instead, because the main thing that you want with support discs are the notes. The notes are the more important thing to consider when you're putting in support discs. Like, I think with my Lux team, yeah, my Lux team, I've got a 4-star disc in, and that's primarily because of the notes that it gives. They're both beneficial notes for the main discs and activating their skills on them. So, as I said earlier, like, I talked up the Battle Pass discs a bit too much, I felt, because they aren't there's a good chance that a lot of people are not going to use them. However, if you do happen to get, and you know, we do get free pull currency, so you will eventually get a signature disc for a character. Like, it's like an inevitability. You will eventually get one. So I still think it kind of holds true with what I said previously. So, overview, going through these discs. With support discs, primarily want to look at the notes, see what, what notes are good for activating the discs skills, main disc skills. And if you need confirmation on certain things, you can go to disc details. Say right here, main discs provide base stats and skill bonuses. So base stats and your skills bonuses. Support discs. Support discs provide base stats and additional music notes. These are the music notes and the base stats. So those are the things that matter between the two different types disc slots. I didn't know for a while that the base stats affected or taken into account with support discs, so pretty easy to miss, I think. That is about it. The recording's a little bit shorter, almost 10 minutes shorter, but I didn't think that this would take so long. It's kind of surprising me. Anyways, as far as like what I'm gonna cover next, I'll have to think about some things. When it comes to characters, how to build them and their potentials, that's something that takes a little bit of time. I don't even know if I'm like doing things optimally with them. I don't know if I really want to get into the nitty-gritty of covering characters and whatever, but I'll try to come up with something else to cover. There's some character text that I can talk about and go over. One of them is of a limited character, which is Shia. So it's not going to pertain for newer characters or people who don't have her. But there's another character that I can go over that would be beneficial for other people. So, not sure if that's going to be next. But anyways, got to the end. Thanks for watching. And I'll see ya.